So I've been told that the closing keynote is the graveyard shift. So I'm going to go for pace, and if you still want to stay for questions, you can. Oh. So my name's Anthony Fletcher. I'm the CEO of Graze. Before Graze, I worked at Innocent Drinks for 8 wonderful years, startup and scale up. Felt I'd learned a lot, and decided I was going to do my own FMCG company. I was driving my wife crazy, at home in the kitchen, brewing up all these different products, and writing all these business plans. But one day, a Graze box turned up at Innocent Fruit Towers, and it was one of the beta Graze boxes the founders of Graze had made. And I was blown away, because all of my product ideas paled into comparison with what I was looking at. This wasn't a product idea, this was a radically new way of approaching a market. And I left my job at Innocent, and I knocked on the door of where the founders had set up Graze, and I said, look, I think you've got this really big idea. I love healthy food, and I'm intrigued about what technology is going to do to the food industry. Please, can I join you? So, privileged to speak to you today about what I feel we've learned. The number one thing I think I've learned is it's very easy to get carried away by technology, especially on a day like today and all this chat about one-to-one personalization. My major takeaway is if you are a consumer products business, make sure you keep on reminding the business that this is what you are. The technology has to serve the consumer. So if I may, I'd love to talk about the context of Graze and start with the consumer and what we're trying to do, and then I'll come on to how I think the technology is doing that. So 50% of the time when someone is looking for a snack, they're looking for a healthy snack. However, if you walk around a major supermarket, you will see that not 50% of the things on the shelf are healthy. All of the largest categories in the supermarket are unhealthy. Why is this? Well, these are the companies who currently control a lot of these products, and they are really struggling to adapt to these changes. Their model is under threat to a certain extent. They've been largely based around above-the-line advertising, the standardization of brands, creating incredible economies of scale once they've cracked those billion-dollar global products. But mass media broadcast is declining, and problematically, the channels which are growing work a little bit differently. Authenticity is more important. People are starting to want brands to talk back to them. Also, health, like many other industries, is fragmenting. It is very personal to individuals what health means. Things like free from are growing very quickly. This does not fit this standardization of brands' models. You have these 3 things. I don't know if you can tell what they are. They are salt, fat, and sugar. The whole of the Western world is hooked on them, and you cannot convince consumers to eat something which tastes less good than the products which have them in. So that's one of the problems we're trying to crack. Also, people are very confused about health. The 3 products at the top, you are legally allowed in America to market as healthy. The 3 at the bottom, you are not. Consumers are understandably confused. But this is an opportunity. There is this disjoint between what the consumers say they want and what is on the shelves. Why aren't the food companies seeing this as a wonderful way to make money? Well, certainly their innovation model is struggling. They are struggling to bring out products to meet these new needs, which is a pity because the new needs often demand a price premium. In fact, I would argue they've always been a little bit bad at innovation, and that is why they've had to rely so much on M&A over the years. They've had to buy the brands and products for the categories they want to move into. And those trends are moving faster. The product life cycle is accelerating. This model is really starting to creak. So that's where Graze comes in. What we want to do is create products which are genuinely healthy and genuinely exciting. Tricky to do. We've been going over the last 8 years to do it. To do it, and to follow this vision, we've had to do some quite surprising things. One of which is, we are not a pure-play technology company. We are vertically integrated. We've had to build our own factory. The only way that we could see to get the right products and the right responsiveness to our consumers' data was to build a factory. It's actually the 2nd largest in Europe, and as I'll be talking to you in a minute, is full of technology which helps us meet our vision. So, onto the technology. The core is to have that view of the brand and what you're trying to do, but I think the interesting question is then to ask, how does technology help your company get there? I think these are the 4 trends which Graze takes advantage of. They are actually in line with what I think any consumer goods business should do. Know your customers, come up with products with unique selling points to solve those needs, manage the reputation of those products, through a brand, and make sure that that system is scalable into international markets and, potentially other brands and product categories. So Graze has looked at all four of these things, and we've spotted different technology trends which help us win. I think generally as a business, we are a food business, not a technology business, but we are incredibly open to these trends. We realize that part of our competitive advantage is having a porous outward-looking nature in the business, which helps us discover and leverage these things. The first advantage I believe we have by being the sort of company we are, by being direct consumer, is the ability to use data to understand your consumer better than the next person. To put it in perspective, Graze gets 15,000 product ratings an hour back from its consumers in terms of the products they like and don't like. We combine our database of over 10 million customers with the Sainsbury's Nectar card to produce a single customer view across retail and online, very unusual. We, of course, need to master all of the good things which are being talked about at this conference, the parts of tech which you need to do well. But we've also come up with some unusual things, unique ways of thinking about retail product assortment. We have a US mail brain which helps do our logistics in the US. And we have lots of funky things to do with working out what products people like and don't like. So the second major theme is your ability to innovate is fundamentally different online. So Graze has been very inspired by the fast fashion model. And this is where you launch things very rapidly. And then the idea is that the business is good at reacting and maximizing behind the winners. So to put it in perspective, we launch a product every few weeks. And actually, if you sat in the Graze office, you could remotely, through our factory, launch a product in 24 hours. This is what I was talking about in terms of the technology-enabled factory. You can sit at a desk and you can upload packaging designs to the factory. You can design the product in a Graze web app. And all of the material planning, all of the manufacturing, and a lot of the compliance is automated. So you bring your product to market rapidly. You send it out to a customer base who are receptive to this as a value proposition, and they very rapidly feed back. If the product doesn't work, we never make it again. There are plenty of Graze products which have only ever rolled off the production line once. What this means is instead of spending more time on market research, you are spending more time on creativity and trying different things. Maybe the risk profile is different on trying new things. Maybe the incentives for failing are different. This is a model where the cost of making an innovation which is a failure is very low. It doesn't cost us to cock up, so we can try lots of things. The third area which I think technology is changing is your ability to build brand. So if you ask the average person in the UK, can you name a healthy snack brand? Graze is #1 for spontaneous awareness. And some of the names you can see on there have been around a lot longer and have probably spent a lot more on advertising. The ability to create experiences which cut through, to seed appropriately with influencers, to be highly distinctive and memorable and generate word of mouth. If these are things you can use, I believe the world has changed in your ability to build brand equity. At Innocent, I spent the first 3 years driving around in a cow van, selling, into all these individual shops. That is not how you have to approach this market now as an entrepreneur if you have an idea. You can build your equity in new and different ways. The last one is about technology on the inside. If you have got all these developers in your company and these data scientists, you shouldn't just be looking at what you can do for the consumer. You should be looking at how you can organize your business to be more effective. How do you have integrated planning systems? How do you have central depositories of data? All of these things I think are critical if you want to create a multi-channel organization without going absolutely crazy at the complexity of it. So, those were the 4 trends. You probably recognize the products on the slide. The initial value proposition was around a large range of constantly changing products, the convenience of delivery, especially to workplaces, creating experiences, surprise, curation, journey, trial, things which maybe were not part of a normal trip to a supermarket, and product personalization. It went incredibly well. And what we also found was this model made it much easier to internationalize. I've done a number of international launches as part of traditional business models, and most of them went spectacularly wrong. Graze used this business model to go to the USA. We had data to understand our customers quicker. We had an ability to iterate our products rapidly to adjust them for the local market. We had strategies to raise brand awareness rapidly. What we found is this was a wonderful way of approaching a market which British companies have traditionally found very hard to go to. And with a bit of cleverness on logistics, we were able to address the whole of the USA from one distribution center from day one. So time passed. Our brand equity increased. We learnt more about which products work. We built our factory and achieved a certain degree of scale. That's when we decided to go multi-channel. And this was a fairly controversial thing to do, but in our mind, we were a snack product. Lots of people enjoy eating snack products in shops. It made a lot of sense to offer the customer different ways of shopping. So in the UK, just over a year ago, and in the US, 6 months ago, we went into multiple channels. It worked well. This model of incubating your brand online, of creating your products in that environment, meant that when we went into stores, we could compete very well. And we believe that this direct consumer relationship continues to give us advantages in this market. One thing I am asked quite a bit, and I have to say the major challenge with the board when we wanted to do this was, by going into retail, do you lose some of your advantages? And I'm thoroughly sick of this question. We do seem to be moving on year by year, but you still have people who go, look, if you sell through a website, you're a tech business, and if you don't, you're not. And what I am excited at this conference is we seem to be moving much more towards talking about multi-channel and consumers and these other themes, rather than getting very hung up on overly fixating on the channels. Because what we have found is lots of these themes have carried through into our retail business, that these ways of using technology are not unique to just having a website. They can enhance the way you compete in multiple channels. I've got 2 case studies for you, and then I'll finish. So this is the first one. The lines show the rate of sale of 3 of our products in a major UK retailer. So we launched 12 products into this retailer, and 8 weeks later, we went in to see the buyer. And we went in to see the buyer, and we said, we recommend that you delist a third of the range and replace it with other products. And the buyer went, wow, no one's ever come in my career and after 8 weeks and said, delist some of my products, make a change. Why are you guys saying this? Well, we said 2 things. One, we've got 400 products online, so we have a great big pool of products we can rapidly commercialize. But 2, we've now got all the data on your stores, so we can assort for your stores more accurately now because of those 2 things. And what you can see, the retailer wasn't quite as quick as Graze could be, but when it did get around to replacing the products we brought in sold much, much quicker. And actually, Graze runs at approximately 2 to 3 times the rate of our large FMCG competitors when it comes to changing its own products in store. We believe that this is a way, maybe more like the fashion industry than the food industry, that you can keep on testing things and be relevant and be finding those next winners. I mean, this will come as very little surprise to many of the people here. But what we've also found is the data we gathered online gives us multi-channel advantages. It is just as useful for driving sales in a retail store as it is for driving sales online. So as I said, we combined our database with the Nectar database. We also enriched that data with third-party data. And effectively, what we started to learn was, where do people live? What are their favorite products? What products are stocked in stores near to them? Are they likely to buy from us ever again online? And what that starts to let you do in a multi-channel way is build campaigns to drive people into the store. And similarly, you can flip this around and come up with various clever ways of driving people from the store to online. Because at the end of the day, what seems to work is customers trying the different channels and working out what works for them and their lives. So hope you enjoyed that. As I said, a real privilege to talk to you about the 2 things I enjoy talking about the most. Any questions?
Let's take questions from the equipment first. I have a microphone and we'll do the running around. First question, the man with the hand up here.
Hi there. First of all, well done and thank you. I think you held the graveyard shift pretty well. I'm Adam Saunders from Optimizely. My question is that switch you made from a subscription-only model traditionally to adding kind of a retail element makes complete sense, and it's fantastic you're able to adapt like that. On the face of that, that sounds like it'd be something that'd be quite simple to add to a front end of a site. But I'm just curious if your developers and back-end team saw a big challenge to changing kind of all of the back-end model to actually build that into the product that would serve up on to your customers. If so, how did you overcome the challenges there? And if you could shed a bit more light on that, would be fantastic.
Technically, I think wonderful developers and wonderful data scientists can achieve amazing things for your business. I think the key was, how were you positioning this? That there is a certain snobbery about being a tech business. Is being sold in Tesco cool, or is it part of the business's mission? So I think, one, you have to position multi-channel in the correct way. Two, I think you have to put a lot of thought into your organization design and how people do work together and learn different things. But I don't think technically, they're all whiz kids, and they can bash all sorts of things out very quickly.
We've got time for another question. Last question in the corner. It's always the person furthest from the man with the microphone. Such is life.
Hi there, hi. I just got a question. It's very common. Everyone knows Graze's strategy of getting people on through a free box at the start of your subscription. No doubt that cost you a lot of investment at the start when Graze started getting in. How did you know how much to invest and what would bring the right strategy for you in terms of getting people on board?
I think it's classic performance marketing and data. The business across all of its channels, and that includes retail, is focused on CAC LTV, so the cost of bringing in a customer versus a view of what its future cash flows are. And we've put a lot of effort into attribution, so that when we spend marketing money, we're confident of what it brings in. And you can absolutely link all of those dollars of marketing spend over the last 7 years of Graze to particular customers and see their behavior. So in my mind, if you want to do performance marketing, you have to get very good at both of those things and work out how to link them together.
That was a brilliant finish to a very interesting day. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Thank you.